we are.
We are here.
Episode 79 of the Movie Schmovie podcast.
Hey.
I am John Walker, and sitting to my left is Ronald James, and sitting to my right, kind of across the table from me, looking really good in this lighting, is Steve Reeder.
Hey guys, what's going on? Not a whole lot, obviously, from the
Yeah, I
lack of
know,
reply.
exactly.
Yeah,
We've got
awkward silence.
We're kind of coming in with empty pockets tonight. We don't have any one specific movie or topic.
What have you guys seen?
You want to give us a few? I've been waiting for this, Steve, to use this. You want to give us a new feature we can call Quick Reads.
Quick
with
Reads.
Steve Reeder.
Oh, look at you. But the thing is, my last name is actually not Reeder. It's Ritter. So,
Okay, see,
Like
but
John Ritter?
I've
Forever been
you've
a
been calling me
mystery.
Reeder, but I mean, most people do.
I asked you what it should be, and you said Reader's fine.
Reeder doesn't insult me. It's not the correct way.
Why
but
would you do-
it's fine.
Why would
No, what's
you-
funny
if
is
that's
I
not
was
your
I
last
was
name?
correcting people and saying Ritter for like a couple of years, and then everyone was saying Reader, and then one day I asked you, and you said Reader's fine.
Well, I'm an asshole because I was
Yeah.
lying.
Yeah,
to you.
that's really weird.
No, it's Ritter. But I think
Okay.
quick reads with Ritter.
Yeah. Okay. Quick. How about this then? Quick Ritz with Steve. That doesn't work as well. Right. Yep. Unless it was just you eating a Ritz cracker for a second.
Ritz crackers are really good,
Yeah.
though.
You want a quick Ritz?
I would love a
So
quick
it's
Ritz.
Ritter.
It's Ritter. It always has been.
You know what's weird? You never really say your last name.
I don't really say it, I don't really announce myself when I walk into a room. either.
Why don't you? It's weird when you meet people that introduce themselves first and last name.
I don't know that I ever have.
Oh my goodness. All the time.
If somebody else introduces them to me, it's usually the first and
Yeah.
last. And it's, just call me Ronald.
Frederick Sampson speaking.
Right.
I was wondering if you can help me with what? Why you giving me your whole name?
Actually, that's true. Actually, now that I think about day-to-day my job, it is usually,
Very
everybody
strange.
says their first last name. That's
Yeah.
true.
That's very weird that people do that.
But my quick Ritz
Yeah.
read, whatever you want to call them. I did see a couple movies this week that probably, at least at this point in the year, I would say are on the top of my favorite movies of the year. I don't know where they fall, but they're definitely up there. The first is the film Mud,
Man, I wanted to see that.
which I don't know why it took me forever to see this movie. A lot of people had recommended it to me. Matthew McConaughey, Reese Witherspoon, Sam Shepard. I forget who else was in the film. The stars of the film are two younger kids, like two young boys, who are just really, really great in the movie. It's from the director of Take Shelter, and just a really kind of great coming-of-age story kind of movie. These kids kind of right on that verge of teenage adolescence and, kind of being exposed to a character, Matthew McConaughey's character. They kind of come upon him on this island that they go to get away from their families. And there's just this boat literally in a tree that's going to be their treehouse. But one day they go there and meet this character, Mud, and kind of get thrown into his world and kind of get a taste of what this guy's experienced in his life and learn a lot through that. And some of it gets kind of dark, and some of it is actually kind of bright in terms of some of the themes of like love and family. The kids learn a lot of when was what not to do through him. But it's a really incredible movie. I loved it. I've watched it twice actually in the past couple weeks.
Dang.
And the other film I'd say, I saw Blackfish this past week at the Charles here in Baltimore. It expanded here, and it's kind of slow rollout. Every time I turn the TV on, any of the news, like morning news, like there's some mention of this movie. Especially like timing with Shark Week, and everybody's talking about basically sea life, period. They're mentioning this film. Basically,
It's a big week if you're a creature of the sea. This is a big week for you.
This is your week.
This is like when you want your new single to drop
Yeah,
or
best week
something
ever
like that.
of the year.
Best week.
But yeah, I mean, for those not aware, it's basically a documentary about the Tilikum, who's one of the orcas at SeaWorld Orlando, and just a discussion, expose. I mean, I don't know how. It's interesting, like seeing the film. That I don't think that I don't think that the filmmaker blatantly rips SeaWorld apart. I mean, I think that they are very clear in what their suggestion is in their film, but really sad to watch. As a at one point in my life, I'd always wanted to be a marine biologist or an oceanographer, and we go to SeaWorld regularly, having just gone there in April and having pictures on my iPhoto. After seeing the movie, I went back and found pictures that I have of Tilikum, which is the whale in the film that they feature. It's just really sad and has me really rethinking how I feel about parks like that and supporting things like that, specifically for the whales and the dolphins at that park. Just, whether that the conditions can ever be present for them to live a quality of life that they'd ever, even a percentage of what they would have in the wild. and it all kind of came about because there was an attack in 2010. Don Branchow was killed live during a meet and greet show at SeaWorld Orlando.
Oh, wow.
And it just basically kind of exposes that and discusses, SeaWorld's reaction to it, not really accepting any kind of responsibility, and basically writing it off as like trainer error, which is just completely, it's hard to watch in the movie. Especially talking to like former trainers that worked there at some point at the park, and people that had been involved with that whale through its life being captured in Iceland off the waters, and the different marine parks that it had made its way through, where it had basically attacked other trainers in its life. It's just really, really incredible documentary. I mean, it's one of those things like The Cove that came out a few years ago that just completely just like kind of shakes you up, and it's a real life thing that just, you kind of overlook a lot, especially me. Like, I just feel like I love that aspect of life, the marine life, the water, the ocean. And it's just, it's very informative, and it's absolutely polarizing, but it's something I feel like everybody should see.
It's the same way you feel about like circuses and zoos.
It's a tough thing because, like I said, you're always kind of aware of that notion of like something doesn't feel right about it, that I can pay $50 and go to this park and see this show with this, Tilikum is actually the largest orca in captivity in the world. He's 2 times as big as any other whale at SeaWorld, and he's on display every day, multiple times a day at this show. And it just didn't, and it always kind of was weird to me, but I always was just, I was in it. So I never was able to separate and kind of look at it in this light. And the way that the film kind of like throws it out there, it's just really, it's kind of eye-opening. And I mean, I think their main thing is just that orcas and whales in captivity for entertainment purposes is the issue. But absolutely try to see Blackfish. There's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a documentary that's going to be talked about at Oscars and nominated for, whatever else comes out. I'm sure that it's probably got some competition, but that's that like documentary that comes out earlier in the year that will surely be nominated for an Oscar.
I think
it's a great film.
To like, just to satisfy your conscience, what you ought to do is take your next vacation in an environment where you can encounter like an orca in the wild.
I would love that.
Right.
Like literally when we left the screen, my girlfriend and I, like, we need to go like, in British Columbia, they do the kayaking with the orcas in like the little harbors. Like that is absolutely, outside of the ones that we have coming up in the next like 6 months, like that's the next trip. I mean, because that would probably just blow anything I've experienced out of SeaWorld out of the water, and I'd be okay with never going there again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's kind of like it went kind of sad towards the end there. But Mud and Blackfish, 2 films I loved. I've seen over the past couple weeks, and both of them are probably my top 5 of the year so far, easily.
I had a similar experience.
What'd you see?
I saw Fruitvale Station. It's based on the 2009 murder of Oscar Grant III. Happened in California. He was going to go see fireworks in San Francisco, and it was like a train ride that his mom suggested he go on instead of driving because she was afraid that he'd get drunk. He got accosted by a guy that he had been in jail with, and after that, like a fight broke out. He was brought out to basically the waiting area by the police, and he was shot in front of a couple hundred people.
In the back.
In the back,
laying on the ground.
Yeah, he kneed his head down, and then he told him to turn around while someone's knee was on his head, so he couldn't physically move. And because he didn't move, he got shot, which was really weird. So they show that footage at the beginning, and it's basically the last couple days of his life. Of course, dramatized, changed, but it's an incredible movie. It showed basically the idea that like there is a serious problem with the way young black men are perceived in this country.
No.
Oh, just like kind of demonized in a lot of ways. And it's weird that like this is the first movie that I've seen that's kind of had all that stuff in and made it balanced. Because they showed all the things that he did. He sold weed. He did things that were like any other person trying to find his way in the world. You know what I mean? And then these incredible things that he did for people just that he didn't know. Like just incredible testaments to people kind of saying how great he was. In fact, one of the people that he helped actually saw him get shot on the train, which is a crazy sort of weird cosmic connection that he had. It's a really sad movie. Michael B. Jordan is incredible as Oscar Grant.
Wallace.
Yeah, Wallace. Octavia Spencer is his mom, very, very good actress, and his daughter in it is incredible as well. So it's worth checking out.
Well, I only saw one movie in the last week or so, but it's tied into what we're probably about to talk about. So I'll just mention it, and then we'll jump right into our next topic. Okay. I saw Drive finally.
Woo! For the first time.
And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought that it was, let's say, a movie that was visually stunning, and yet it also had things like dialogue.
Why would anybody choose to do that? What a conscious decision to have logic and story. And
it had dialogue and it had plot. And there were characters that I remember.
Right.
And even though one character didn't have a name,
but
he had a character.
It's his name matters not.
So, of course, I'm saying all that to refer to the latest Nicholas Winding Refn film that he's done with Ryan Gosling, which we actually covered in separate worlds on our last episode. It was sort of a tease. We all phoned in, or we all sent in our voice mails for the 78.5. So if you listen to that, you heard our initial thoughts on a couple of movies, Wolverine and the latest Nicholas Winding Refn film, Only God Forgives. We were, since we all talked about them separately, it was only after we finished that episode and we'd all heard it that we realized that there was some disagreement, perhaps even some strong disagreement on this one. And maybe, actually, it would have been more fun to have that conversation all in one room. And since I am precisely on the fence, I'm an ambivalent motherfucker about this movie. Ronald has described it as a great film.
I thought it was a great film.
Steve thinks it's everything but a great film. I think now it's time to have another debate. We haven't had a debate in a long time. We're going to debate.
The name of this...
Do you have a ding ding? Like, start the round?
I don't know. I wanted to have a sound effect handy, but I don't this time. But I was, the nature of this debate comes, I think, down to the point of when a director is kind of feeling their oats and making a movie that's extremely their own vision and extremely personal. What responsibility do they have to service a plot or to service an audience that may be expecting something a little bit more inviting or a little bit more engaging in that sense? Because if you thought it was great and you thought it was pretty terrible, then I mean, clearly that's a movie that's making some strong choices one way or the other.
That's what's happening. Like that, all of the reviews are either I fucking hated it or it was a great movie. I haven't heard anybody say anything in between.
Well, except for John.
Except for me.
Except for John, who's in between. But go ahead.
I don't have opinions. I have thoughts, guys. That's just the way I.
It's very obvious that you didn't like the movie.
Me.
Yeah, you.
My biggest issue, I guess when we started talking about it after the fact, is that I feel like, and even with Ronald mentioning that it's so polarized that either they love it or they hate it, I feel like if you look at the people, and not to point anybody out, but the people that are saying that they love it, I honestly think in more cases than not, I get the sense that people are just like making excuses for this filmmaker because he has talent.
Not fucking true.
But it is true. If it wasn't Nicholas Winding Refn's film, if it was John Q's film, who's never made a film ever before and has never worked with Gosling, had no expectation, he was this new cat on the block, people would not watch this movie and it would not have that block at the very, very positive side. I'm totally confident in that. I think that his reputation, because of other films, I mean, I love Drive. I like Bronson. I think even those films, which are like brutal, I think Bronson is just as brutal in a lot of ways as Only God Forgives.
Yeah.
But there's something to Bronson in story and character, in script, anything. There's elements that exist in that film, where I think that this was just a case of like a filmmaker that just kind of lost. It almost feels to me like he just lost his way and made this film because he could with the guy he could and made whatever he wanted, and made decisions for himself, like John was kind of saying when we were talking about it after the fact.
I don't know if it's necessarily like who directed it that made me. So I knew that because of location wise that it was a Bangkok movie. I knew that it was going to be odd. I knew that he was going to make it weird. So I didn't really have any super duper crazy expectations in terms of that. So, you know what? The karaoke thing was so fucking weird to me. What was that about? Like,
explain that to me, Ronald. What's the purpose of that? Where
weird.
does that fall into the story or that character? What is that?
I think it was the idea that he was so comfortable being in the position that he was that he was just karaoke one day, another moment slicing someone's fucking brains out of their head. I think it was like just a kind of glimpse at who this person was.
I mean,
altogether.
I do think it was an expression of what we're referring to is the fact that this character Chang, who's kind of he's the unstoppable machine in this movie. I mean, he's the
angel of vengeance.
That in between violent acts, he seems to go to this karaoke club and perform a song. But I think the key thing is that he's kind of performing it for his men.
Did you get that?
I do think it's like an expression of his power that I'm going to do this, and it almost seemed like his men sort of loved it and looked up to him. I don't know. That was weird.
Did you get that he was a statue?
There was a lot of like standing still and characters not speaking, and a lot of characters just sitting there with kind of impassive expressions on their face. So I feel like that's one of those scenes where if I were enjoying the movie, which at certain moments I was thinking, oh, this is kind of neat that his men just kind of sit there and indulge him like this, and they may even enjoy it. But if I were tired of the film, as I'm sure you were from a few minutes in, I could totally see how those scenes would just infuriate me, because the scenes where he sings karaoke, it's not like you get a few seconds of it and then they cut away. You get a pretty full karaoke.
They licensed that whole song.
Yeah, you get a whole song.
But I actually thought he was great. I will say one of my favorite things about the movie was just Chang and that actor's performance. But if I would have been fine with a villain who kind of doesn't speak much and moves really slowly and methodically, if I didn't feel like everybody in the movie was doing that. There were parts where a character would just say something to someone, and then the other character would just kind of look off into space, and you wouldn't even know. Like, and I know that the point of the movie was this kind of dreamlike world. Like, I think Nicholas Winding Refn, I think that he kind of idolizes David Lynch and Alejandro Jodorowsky, the I think he's a Chilean filmmaker.
Okay.
But this movie was dedicated. Only God Forgives is dedicated to Alejandro Jodorowsky, who was thanked at the end of Drive, I noticed. So he clearly likes that guy. Like, his movies are really like visually sumptuous, but also very sort of difficult watches. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he would dedicate the movie to Jodorowsky, it's not too surprising, because it has that sort of art over storytelling kind of sensibility. But I think what you're getting at, Steve, which is something I kind of am not quite, the reason I wouldn't really say that I thought it was a great movie myself is that I couldn't tell that the art was about anything. Like, I couldn't tell that even all those long shots and all that deliberate pacing and everything, I couldn't tell that it amounted to anything.
Right.
Which is where we come to the idea of the director sort of masturbating and you're just watching. I was going to ask you, Steve, can you think of any other movies or directors who've done this where you've generally been on board and excited, and then they've done a movie that just seemed like they put their foot wrong? Can you think of this happening?
Oh, on the spot?
With anybody else?
Wow.
What about Terrence Malick? Tree of Life.
Well, no, we had that discussion.
Tree of fucking Life.
Admittedly, I haven't seen Tree of Life.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that I could say one specific film, because I know that I haven't hated any of his films, and you're gonna probably balk at this, but I feel like sometimes in terms of like a director just doing something because he can and people being okay with it because it's him, I feel like Wes Anderson, I get that feeling with him sometimes.
See, I actually would agree with you. Oh. I happen to like his choices, but I would agree that he gets to do what he wants.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Like, and the film that I feel that way about, I was not a fan of Darjeeling Limited.
That would be my least favorite.
I love that movie.
And
I had the most issue with that, and that's where I kind of got that gut feeling that I'm talking about now. Again, I didn't hate that film like I felt about like the way I feel about Only God Forgives. It just comes down to, I just feel like maybe I'm just more interested in a story, and I mean, I'm all down for amazing visuals and like blow me away with that stuff, but don't cut. I'm watching this because I want to have a story.
Yeah,
I'm not watching just to look at something pretty. I mean, I can accept film as a media of art and visually enticing images and everything. But at the end of the day, like, I choose to watch a movie over looking at artwork or design or cartoons or graphic novels or whatever, because I want to see a story in action. I want to see moving pictures that just suck me in, and I don't want to let go of this scene because I'm so into it. And there was not really maybe only one scene in this film that I felt that way about. And I mean, that kind of just gets to me because like I said, I was a huge fan of Bronson, and I love Drive, one of my favorite movies of that year, because I was so attached to that character and what was happening, even if it was not a good thing. Yeah. And I could have easily been attached to these characters, even though every single person in this movie is a piece of shit in most cases.
And the way that the lines are delivered, everything's so slow and kind of metered and sort of, I mean, so what do you think the effect of all that was, Ronald? As someone who enjoyed the movie a lot, like, what did you glean from the fact that it was so sparse in terms of the dialogue, and that you would have those long tracking shots and those kind of repetitive, kind of dreamlike images, and there'd be scenes where sometimes it would be edited in such a way that you couldn't tell that if you were watching like a compressed time frame, or if you were watching scenes intercut, or if you were watching a flashback? Like, what did you take from that?
I just gathered that it was just a fucked up world. I don't really know besides that what it really amounted to. And I know that it felt right at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
The part that really got me was like the interweaved, like, was he imagining himself like fighting, like that when they showed him just kind of sitting there with his fists up? What the fuck was that?
Like when he had his arm out and got the one cut off.
Yeah. Like I get that it was like, I guess it was his fear of this guy. I mean, and what I was saying was like the kind of reveal thing that I think they were trying to do was, the reason why they looked up to him was because he was like an amazing fighter, and they had that statue up that was kind of like an ode to him. That's why he's in front of it at that point where he's like talking about fighting him, because that's him behind him. He's fighting basically like this idea of who this person represents to people. But it was weird. I mean, it did have its shortcomings, and it felt long at times, but I don't know why it sounds like it should have been shitty to me, and it wasn't for some reason. And it wasn't because I've turned on directors.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you think of anyone that you would put in that category? Somebody that you like love their career, and then they've done a movie that just made your stomach drop at the.
It was actually backwards. I think it was backwards more. I think it's Quentin Tarantino more. I saw newer stuff before I saw Reservoir Dogs, and I hated that fucking movie.
Yeah.
So it's like more like a backward sort of thing. But there were movies that I've seen from him that I think were, that was a questionable movie to me. Like, even though like it's held in high regard.
When I think of directors that are kind of off being themselves, Wes Anderson's not a bad example at all, Steve, just because. And Darjeeling Limited really is the movie where maybe it was the most of his ticks on display without what felt like an enjoyable, character-rich, funny story behind it. That was the one that...
Which, leading up to that, that's what I love about his film.
Exactly. But I would say directors... And I've come around to like or love just about all of the movies that these guys have done, but I would say that as far as being out in their own world, the Coen brothers, for me, have had a couple of movies that on first viewing, I was like, oh, that feels like kind of a letdown, because I want more from them. And you see a movie by one of your favorite directors, and it'll be another 4 or 5 years sometimes before they do another movie. The Coens are more regular than that, one or 2 years. But if you aren't totally in love with it, it kind of feels like, oh crap, when's the next statement going to be? And I think that like The Man Who Wasn't There was one. Yeah. The first time I saw it, it kind of left me cold. Next time I saw it, it really started to work its spell on me. I really started to appreciate what they were doing. Now, A Serious Man is one that I really liked the first time, but I know a lot of people felt like it was kind of an off movie for them. But I would say that they're directors who...
That's a sad movie.
They're directors who I think could lead me to try a movie and to dig into it and to look for something in it. And if it wasn't there... I mean, I'm thinking of their most disappointing films are Intolerable Cruelty and The Lady Killers, most likely. And those are movies that have their entertaining moments, but definitely I felt like, oh, this is not them. This is not them at their best. Yeah. And it kind of is that sort of anger almost that you're talking about, Steve, where you feel sort of you feel,
because there's a talent, that there's true skill, and there's a reason why you really, really love or a fan of whatever degree it is. And you just feel like they kind of get lost or something happened where, production wasn't long enough, or the budget wasn't there, or the time to develop the story wasn't there, or whatever happened, and whoever's accountability there is for it. But it's just, it's more frustration because I do genuinely like this filmmaker, and you look forward to seeing what these exciting voices have to offer, and it's just kind of a huge letdown to me to not to mention, I really like Ryan Gosling, too. I just felt like he was not anything special in this movie also.
Well, what I've heard is that they changed his character a lot, even though supposedly this movie was going to go before they shot Drive.
Right.
And then Refn was actually called on to Drive by Gosling, who had replaced Hugh Jackman on the project. And so
Hugh Jackman?
And so this was planned before Drive, which would make it seem like, okay, so this character wasn't conceived in reaction to the character of the driver in Drive. But when Gosling got to Bangkok, they sort of decided, once they were making the movie, that having this plot where this Westerner comes in and kicks everyone's ass would have been too cliche and too trite.
It was weird once the biggest part of the film comes up. You're like, okay, this is gonna be.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa.
I actually thought that was funny. That part I did like.
It's like, what?
It knocks him down a peg or two.
Yeah.
Fucks him up. Like,
Yeah.
But I think that scene might have played better if I'd thought that Ryan Gosling's character had anything going on. At that point in the movie, it was pretty clear that he was just kind of a chump, you know?
Yeah.
yeah.
What was funny was, to me, I noticed that Kristen Scott Thomas's character, who was at least kind of memorable as a villain, if she had somehow been the villain in The Wolverine,
Oh yeah.
I think that you would have. I think that you would have actually, if she was the bad boss, if she was like the mob boss,
Hell yeah.
that Wolverine was going up against at the end, I would have looked forward to that
All in.
confrontation. Yeah,
She was really.
She was
good.
actually the only minor thing that I enjoyed about the movie. I mean, I don't know that I really.
and she
liked
seemed
her.
to be having fun too.
Yeah, she was totally eating it all. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
She was.
I think on Wikipedia it says like he visioned her as Lady Macbeth meets what's her name, Diana Versace or whatever
Yeah.
her name is.
Wow.
I read that.
Totally like
Yeah.
what an accurate
She was
description.
So shitty.
I mean, what a mom complex and just like what a oh my god.
And the way
just
things
fucking
resolve with
horrible.
her, is so it's so brutal. I mean, again, I think in a movie that I had felt more engaged with, I would have found some of that stuff that happens towards the end to be like really shocking and
Yeah.
interesting. Something else I thought was interesting that I read. I don't know if you've heard this, that Refn actually has like a form of colorblindness, where
No.
midtones he doesn't see, he can't distinguish.
oh,
And
wow.
so extreme saturated colors, that's why his movies are so colorful, so saturated, is because if he did like subtle colors, he wouldn't
be able to-
see them.
Wow.
But I really noticed that. Well, I mean, of course, in Only God Forgives, it's
All over the
extremely
place,
colorful.
yeah.
But in Drive, having seen Only God Forgives first, it was great to appreciate the way that in Drive, the painting with color and light was just as beautiful. I thought I can totally see all the right down to the soundtrack. Everyone was raving about the music in Drive, and I was like, oh, it sounds pretty cool, but
So good.
it's so
Drive
effective
is
in the
so
movie.
good.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, I
It
mean,
is so good.
I feel like I saved a nice little pleasure for myself, So
You totally did. I was surprised. I mean, when you told me that, I was like, I didn't even. I guess I didn't remember, or if you had told us before.
I had, but
But
yeah.
I was like totally. I probably just intentionally
Yeah, right.
blocked it out. Like, how can we record with John if he hasn't seen Drive?
Do you
Right.
remember when we saw that movie?
Dude, we were going at Landmark.
Yeah,
It was like 5 people in the
Five
theater.
people there. We watched it. We were like, "What was that?
Yeah.
What did we just watch?"
So good.
Yeah, it was.
So
insane.
as soon as the music kicks in, that title sequence.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
Ugh.
shocked. The soundtrack like blew
good.
my mind.
I'd rather just reflect on Drive and not talk about Only God Forgives anymore.
So here's a thought that I have. I don't know how many of movies this is the case with, but here's something that might be at the root of this, Steve. Did you notice that who wrote the screenplay for Only God Forgives?
No.
It's Nicholas Winding Refn.
Okay.
Who wrote the screenplay for Drive is a guy named Hussein Amini,
Okay.
Oh wow.
who hasn't like got the best resume, but he's a screenwriter.
Okay.
And I looked, Valhalla Rising also has a co-screenwriter. So maybe they just need to bring someone in.
There's definitely something to that.
Yeah.
Because somebody else, not that he's on the same level as this director, but Zack Snyder, I feel like the same thing happens to him
You
when
think
he
when he writes his own shit,
Yes.
he just goes crazy.
when he does not have somebody else helping him with a script. Like
Yeah.
I referenced the Dawn of the Dead remake. I think it was James Gunn. Did he get a writer credit on that?
Yeah,
Like
that always confused me. James Gunn wrote that, and Zack Snyder directed it. Yeah.
right. And I mean, I forget what other films like he wrote and directed. I think.
Sucker Punch.
Sucker
right?
Punch, yeah, with the chicks, and not. I mean, in my opinion, not good. Again, I mean, maybe they are more similar than I thought. Different scope, in big studio films versus smaller films, but visually, in my opinion, stunning films, like in different ways.
Zack Snyder, even more so, is surprising to me. And this is going to turn out to be the best segue of all time, Steve, by the way.
bring it.
Going into Zack Snyder now. But Zack Snyder, even at times where I've thought, okay, he's definitely not the type of director that I like rave about, I will see some of his images and I'll just be blown away by them. Like
Totally.
his visual sense is really impeccable. And I like the way he puts together an image. And I think he's one of those guys who uses CGI in an interesting way, in an artistic way.
I agree.
Definitely not always with the best material. But yeah, interesting now, Zack Snyder. Next film is going to be, is it Superman versus Batman or Batman versus
I
Superman?
think Superman has top billing. I think it's Superman versus
Superman versus Batman. So
versus
first question, is it an unwise decision not to give him a movie to get to be Superman? Because you know that Superman versus Batman, I mean, everybody likes Batman better than Superman.
Yeah.
So is that not a little unfair to old Soups?
That's a
That,
really
like,
good point.
His next movie, he doesn't get to be,
Yeah.
he doesn't get to be full-fledged Clark Kent working at the Daily Planet Superman without Batman there stealing the spotlight.
If we were to have a tally
Yeah.
of DC versus Marvel, Marvel is punting.
They're not waiting any longer.
Right. So I think
That's what it comes to.
Right.
That's a
So I
good
think
point.
what's happening is they're trying to pull out the big guns for this release because DC has been falling behind. Besides Batman, I think the problem with the DC, whoever is commanding the DC sort of franchises is they don't believe in any of their other superheroes besides Batman. Mm-hmm. That's a problem, particularly since they're really good DC characters. Some of which I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, if they gave people chances, we would know. Like, they can't keep investing in Batman. So I think
that's what I'm saying is, to me, bringing Batman into this series so quick almost seems like they don't have any faith in DC properties without Batman.
Yeah, it feels like that a little bit. I guess one of the bigger questions is, what version of Batman are we going to see?
Yeah. Well, that's what they've said. Very positive news that they are going with an older actor to play Batman.
Yes.
The notion that he's an established hero, we're not seeing his origin.
So we're doing like Dark Knight Returns, old.
Well, I don't know how old. They've said 40.
Oh, okay.
So I love that's old for Hollywood.
Dark Knight Returns was like 55. He was 55 when he did that. So I'm wondering,
but in Dark Knight Returns, Superman, and this is just for anyone out there who's not a nerd, Dark Knight Returns is the graphic novel or the limited series that got collected as a graphic novel that really started off the whole sort of comics aren't just for kids anymore thing back in the 80s. And people have been wanting them to adapt that story for the screen for a long time. It's an interesting angle to take a Superman versus Batman movie and go with that story. But in that story, Superman's kind of like a government stooge, and Batman is, he's Batman. Everyone loves Batman. And he's kind of fighting the system. And again, I just kind of feel like that. Like I would be a little disappointed if Superman in the next movie is already being set up as this annoying government stooge.
Yeah, I hope not.
Again, because I liked Henry Cavill as Superman, and I wanted to see what they would do with that. But I mean, my feeling is they're probably not going to cut Superman off at the knees too much in this movie. I'd be surprised if they adapt Dark Knight Returns too much, because that material is different in a lot of ways than the usual superhero fare. But
I think it'll be interesting. Them choosing the older actors, that's incredible to me. Mostly because like we need to see.
They need someone with like quiet authority, a little bit of age on him. Someone like George Clooney that could really take that character and do something memorable with it. Yeah,
with nipples.
Yeah. Well, so what's Val Kilmer doing? He's an actor I've always admired. He could probably take a whack at
Oddly enough,
and he might actually do something interesting with it.
That'd be really cool if they pick somebody. Josh Brolin was the name that made me happy.
We're talking about casting for Batman in this film. Since they're going to bring him in, and he's going to be an adversary to Superman, and he's just got to skew a little older than Henry Cavill, who skews pretty young. So yeah, some of the names I've heard make me think that's a bad idea. Some of them I'm lukewarm about. And then Josh Brolin, our chant, Brolin. I just haven't heard anything better than Brolin.
Especially if he's like stocky, man, I think
he's got the chin for it too.
He has the chin for it.
I remember years ago there were people that were talking about John Hamm.
Oh wow,
I can see John Hamm doing great.
That's somebody I thought
Hamm
of
would
earlier.
Kill as Batman.
And he's worked with Zack Snyder before. He was in Sucker Punch, so he would be my favorite. But I don't think he's. He has said before though that the reason, like when people were talking about him for Superman, he had said that he thought they were looking for someone younger, meaning around 30.
Right.
But he's sort of the right age to play this version of Batman that they're talking about. Yeah. Will they do? Well, everyone wants Idris Elba to be cast as everything now. Do you think they should just go ahead and cast Idris Elba?
Eventually, it's gonna stick.
Yeah, right.
Man,
it's gonna end up being like they're gonna end up like picking like a young guy that no one's ever heard of.
I really hope not.
I hope not too. But I mean,
do you remember who was being mentioned for Batman previously? The last time a Batman versus Superman movie was being talked about was Armie Hammer. Which is just hilarious now. I just think that's an idea that might have sounded good to people 6 months ago, and now it's like, no, forget all those Armie Hammer memos we sent out.
I would like the idea.
I don't get the Armie Hammer thing.
I like Armie Hammer.
I haven't.
I got it
even since like social. I didn't like.
I got it in Social Network, but he was playing like an entitled preppy douche, and he did a great job. And I just don't have any interest in seeing that guy But
he's huge though, right? Like I feel like if they shouldn't pick somebody that's like really, really tall. Mm-hmm. I feel like Batman isn't really, really tall. Like he's like 6'3".
So who are some of the people you've heard mentioned that are no-goes for you?
The dude from True Blood.
Oh,
Joe Manteglia.
Joe, that would be terrible.
Yeah. He was on that list that we were sharing with one another. Mm-hmm. Brolin was at the top. Armitage, Richard Armitage, or somebody I thought would be a good pick as well. I'm not super familiar with him, but I mean, he was in the new Hobbit film. He's in the 2 coming up.
Yeah.
Who does he play in the Hobbit?
He
film?
plays Thorin.
Right.
Thorin Oakenshield.
Right, thank you, John.
He's sort of like the leader of the dwarves. Okay. He's going to help them regain their ancestral city of Erebor.
I'd rather have this told to me by
the thing is, Smaug, the dragon...
I'd rather Henry tell me this.
You see, well, I'll go get him. No, but who was it that I heard that I thought sounded like a bad idea? It was Gerard Butler. I would be pretty irritated with that.
No.
That would be weird.
The weird thing with me liking Armitage is that I feel like he looks like Hugh Jackman, and I could see Hugh Jackman in it as well.
Well, you know who I thought would actually be good, since they're skewing older and they would need someone who could maybe play pretty well against Superman. Someone came to my mind, but I don't think he's available. Is Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, God.
But he's got a pretty good chin. It's like his face. He's got a nice looking.
He'd be like Spider-Man, Batman. Like he'd be like almost too snarky.
He would keep the Tony Stark boy band goatee though,
Yeah.
probably, and it would look stupid in the cowl. No, so I guess what we're saying is there's definitely some potential for this to go right.
I think it's just great that I do agree with you. It almost kind of seems, especially if they go deep into that, just the Dark Knight Returns series. I actually just kind of was recently getting into that, like trying to read more about that when it all came out, because I'm not really into the whole comic book side of it, but it is really what Ronald said. It's like Marvel is leaps and bounds ahead of DC, and Man of Steel stuck, unlike what was the one that Bryan Singer did a few years, Superman Returns. Which did not. That was like they're trying to get Superman, and after that was when they were talking about the Batman versus Superman thing. It never happened. So like now that Man of Steel has actually taken on and been successful, really successful actually, this is their chance, and I think they're gonna just while it's hot, they're gonna hit it. And I think it's also going to obviously give them a chance to reboot the Batman franchise.
Or to set up this idea of kind of this universe's Batman, which is they've been really clear that they want to keep the Nolan trilogy off in its own world.
Separate,
and I think that's a decent idea. It seems like it's a little soon to reboot a character like Batman, but we're talking about 2 years from now, actually.
Yeah. Jeffrey Dean Morgan also thrown around. The guy that played the comedian
in Watchmen.
in Watchmen.
I'd vote no on that personally, but maybe. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I just think it'd be interesting if Batman is not as big of a character as we would like from the title expect him to be.
Yeah. In
the second film, if it still is a Superman film that maybe introduces some other central Superman character that's even larger than Batman in this film, but the Batman obviously is in the title. I don't know, man. I'm up for it. I mean, I'm excited. I like talking about Batman, even if it seems very very soon after the Nolan trilogy is over, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
We'll survive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key to making this a good film. They're gonna have to make this version of Batman totally different. Like they can't make it even remotely similar, unless it's an older Batman. Like I said, like that's the only way. I feel like if they kind of play on that Batman, people are gonna be disappointed because I don't think you can execute.
I did read that they tried to get Bale.
Initially
they tried to get him in this to continue that. But I think it's probably a better idea not to. I think it's better to leave that as it is and maybe just start fresh. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Well, the one thing about it, even though, like I've said, I thought it would be nice to give Superman his own sequel before moving on to this, is that if they are building towards the Justice League movie, it makes sense that they would want a universe build, maybe not follow the Marvel model of here's a guy and then he gets a sequel and this guy has another movie that's just him and he gets a sequel. Is instead of having characters with separate franchises, if you kind of create a mega franchise that like evolves from Man of Steel into Justice League, I could see that seeming like in 6 years, if they pull it off, I could see that having seemed like a cool plan.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Marvel laid out their initial slate and they said they were doing a Thor movie and a Captain America movie before they got to the Avengers, part of me thought, that doesn't sound like a very smart plan. People want to see the Avengers. I mean, now we see that they did something really clever.
It made sense.
As far as establishing those characters for moviegoers. DC might be doing the same thing, but I mean, after Batman, there's all these characters: Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. They really have to introduce, and Green Lantern reintroduce. You know what I mean? They have to kind of wash away people's memory of that. So that Ryan
they're
Reynolds
gonna have to introduce them in. I don't think they're gonna make separate movies for it. They're gonna have to introduce a couple in some movies. That's no way. Can you imagine what that timeline looks like?
Well, if Batman versus Superman is next, and then the next movie is Justice League, and it's got those two characters kind of established, I could see them introducing 3 or 4 characters in one movie.
Yeah,
but I thought that I read somewhere that it was supposed to. I thought they said there was gonna be like 2 other individual films before Justice League.
So that means that Justice League wouldn't come out till like what, 2016?
Yeah, I think that's what I read.
Jesus, that's way too
long. We're getting into these really futuristic sounding
I'd have to look at that again.
Yeah,
but
still,
it was Batman
that
versus Superman, and I want to say there was a Flash movie, the Green Lantern, and I think, and then that would take you to 16 ish. I don't know, 17. But yeah, I think they're trying to like just basically adopt the same model that.
No love for Wonder Woman, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe it's phase 2.
Did you hear?
I don't
Nicholas Winding Refn actually said he wanted to make a Wonder Woman movie with Christine Hendricks.
Oh, I would watch that.
But they would never sign off on like having such a bombshell play a character that they want to market to like everybody. You know what I mean? There was no way that you could have a movie with Christine Hendricks running around in a costume that wouldn't be R-rated just from the motion factor.
Yeah. I watched the animated
which I was surprised. I didn't know she was in Drive. So her little character.
Oh, yes. What a very
that was,
nice surprise.
Yeah, very brutal, very weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, since we're talking about sequels, I guess we'll just kind of wrap it up with this one last little topic, something I read that I thought was kind of an interesting notion. Mm-hmm. We were recently talking about Pacific Rim and how it didn't seem to kind of hit the zeitgeist. Like the word of mouth was kind of mediocre, and it kind of fell down in terms of box office, it fell down the list pretty quickly. And so all the pre-release chatter about a sequel kind of being inevitable seemed like it was not going to happen. And I don't really have anything invested in whether that movie gets a sequel. I'm kind of glad. I think I said this before. I kind of like it when movies like this don't get sequels. I like it when you just tell a story and you're done. But I thought this was an interesting thing that because of the record-breaking opening it had in China, really only $9 million, but it's like this Warner Brothers' biggest opening ever in China, and that means including all the Harry Potter films. That it's now looking like they're really gearing up. Like it hasn't opened yet in Japan, and there's some other territories where they expect it to do really well. So it's right now at about $227 million in terms of worldwide gross, which is slightly up from the projected budget. So at this point, it's looking like this movie that is still considered sort of a flop might get a sequel because of the foreign box office.
Right.
What this made me think about, and I think another movie that this happened with, I think the Hansel and Gretel,
The Witch Hunters.
The Witch Hunters.
Yeah.
What, was that the name of that?
With Jeremy Renner.
But that was another one that did well in foreign box office and flopped domestically, and is getting a sequel now. So the question is this a trend? Is this all part of the globalization of entertainment, that the worldwide box office is almost becoming as important, if not more, than the American?
Well, the problem really kind of comes down to the fact that we are the home base for shitty movies.
But we're also kind of the home base for movies. So what I'm
for
saying,
movies,
but
yeah,
is that not changing then?
But I guess the issue with that though is we have been force fed these movies for quite some time, and we're accustomed to these big budget movies.
So are we getting burned out on it because we see too many of them?
I think we're getting burned out, yeah.
And they don't have enough?
Exactly, yeah. So they get exposed to them because...
Well, typically American movies do well. There's sort of a fascination with all things American in certain places. Yeah. It's really weird that a movie that at first one of the things about it that we might have admired was that it was an original idea or, cobbled together from a lot of influences, but it was a new idea.
Yeah.
And it's a catch-22. We like to see a new idea, a movie that's not a sequel to something, it's not a franchise, whatever. But the way you prove that movie is successful is by it turning into a franchise.
Yeah. Dumb movies are going to be mass-produced because of that.
I kind of look at it like, I mean, I there's definitely a correlation, I think, in some of the quality of these films that are huge over there. Mm-hmm. I mean, Pacific Rim I did really enjoy, so I don't know that I really would lump that in there. I think it just, actually kind of what Rana was saying, the type of film that is more so is what is making it so big globally. I think the global box office is something that's always been, it's always been a huge factor in not only a movie's success, but probably in its sequel-ness.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think recently it's become a bigger player in the game because of movies failing here. Mm-hmm. Because I think that they rely on that now, and they see that kind of what you just were saying or getting to was that these movies, even when they're making them, it's probably not going to do well here. Like a movie like Hansel and Gretel, that's a great example. Made $55 million domestically, and globally it's made $250 million.
Yep.
So I mean, 4 times as much globally as it's made here. Which is crazy. But I mean, it's a dumbass story, very broad. A lot of these cultures internationally know this story. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's a new well for these studios to go to. Mm-hmm. There's one actually that's coming out this week, Percy Jackson, the sequel.
Yep.
Was supposed to be the next Harry Potter film, directed by Chris Columbus. The first film was. Huge budget, huge flop. I don't even think it made like $89 million here, but it made like 300.
I know
worldwide.
my niece is looking forward to it.
Right.
But I was shocked that it got a sequel, and that's another one that's just like the Hansel and
Yeah.
Gretel, and
And-
even though Pacific Rim is a movie I liked, I still would say I'm shocked that if it gets a sequel, I'd be sort of surprised, based on
throwing darts at the wall. If you just throw it out, you distribute this thing everywhere. Somebody's gonna watch it.
Right.
It's so weird. And if you put it on a worldwide scale, there's all these people in the world. There are gonna be some people that are gonna watch these movies. That's just what it is.
But I think the point is though is that it's not only about the domestic gross. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like I think you both were alluding to it, but I think in yesteryear of Hollywood successes and before the box office started going down locally or domestically rather, it that was like I think a studio's end game was how much money it would gross domestically. You didn't always hear about these. You weren't always seeing like the worldwide grosses and all these press releases
at all.
And when a movie failed, this movie was a bomb. That's it. Like that was the end of the story, and it wouldn't have a sequel. But now it's, well, what's the silver lining of this? Oh, well, it made so much over in Korea or Japan or whatever, in Europe, and that's the light. Like that's the saving grace for some of these studios is that domestically, they'll still make the sequel, and it probably won't make any money here, but it'll sure as hell clean up over there. And it's like another. It's a new avenue for them.
But don't sequels usually get bigger? Like, don't budgets usually get bigger on sequels? So does that mean a stripped down Pacific Rim 2 would be
I mean, not usually. It's not. I think it's not an. It's definitely not an automatic thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about a sequel that did a film that did well enough here to warrant a sequel,
Yeah.
the answer is yes. But in a lot of these examples that we're giving, for Percy Jackson is a great, because I just read this article today about Percy Jackson about how surprising it is that it got a sequel and retained a lot of the cast or all the cast, the main cast, but that the budget was like cut by a third. Like I think it was like
they said, Stanley Tucci, will you come back? And he said, do I get to have a crazy wig? And they said yes, and he said, I'm there.
Yeah.
Do I get to overact in this one?
I think the budget for the first one was like $100 million. I think I read somewhere like this one's like 40.
Wow.
So they see that the budget is not what made this movie successful globally.
Right.
The budget that we had on the first movie. It's the content, it's the story, it's the worldwide appeal maybe of this book series.
The chemistry of the characters is pretty
Something
cool.
like that. But they're like, so we don't need to spend $100 million because it did not succeed here.
Well, I mean, as soon as
the American public is looking for this huge production.
Yeah.
Internationally, we don't need that really.
But I still feel like what studios are going to do, I just feel like studios always learn the wrong lesson when they see a trend, and I wonder if this means they're going to do more things that are just intended just to hit straight to the heart of that sort of easily pleased, eye candy international market. But I don't mean to denigrate the movie tastes of people in other lands. They seem to make some good movies over there. But why is it that the American shit that seems like the worst is the shit that just is huge in other places?
I think we throw so much money at those movies.
We make it so shiny.
It's.
I'm trying to pull the exact number up, but I know Iron Man 3 over 400 million domestic. 1.2 billion worldwide. So 800 plus million is from territories other than the US, where it should be the primary pool, where you would think, at least from what the other films have grossed. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that Iron Man 3 is only it's 300 million behind the Avengers, which was like the juggernaut and juggernauts for the next probably 5 to 10 years of movies. It's just crazy when you think about things like that.
Well, there's something about that's like, I think that Iron Man 3 really benefited from
totally
sort of feeling like it was a sequel to the Avengers. And I was wondering, it's kind of interesting to think about that with regards to something like, even though I was just saying Pacific Rim is now projected to make maybe as much as like 250 million worldwide, that's still 1/5 of what Iron Man 3 made.
Yeah.
At this point already. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess Iron Man 3 is still making money somehow out there, and then it'll hit home video and it'll do it again. So yeah, by that standard, Pacific Rim is still a very modest success. I wonder what they were projecting on that movie based on, Del
probably
Toro
not even a quarter of that.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even expect a quarter.
I wonder what they were expecting, because it did kind of seem like the marketing for Pacific Rim was kind of non-existent, and then on that last week I saw a lot of ads, but I just didn't feel the awareness of it.
There's something happening in the past few years with the global box office. Whatever, there's something behind like a closed door that we just don't have access to or see. But in terms of not only the reporting that is transparent, but in what a plan is for a movie, globally, it's something has shifted in the past 2 or 3 years that may come to light in the next 2 or 3. But it's just crazy when you start looking at the numbers that Iron Man 2 globally 600 million. Iron Man 3 double that.
Yeah.
You know, of course, Avengers definitely blew that. I think, like you just said, John.
Well, but Iron Man 2 was also 50% as good as Iron Man 3.
beyond the quality, because we're just talking about
No,
quality
you're right.
globally
You're right.
blowing up.
Yeah.
You know, a film's
Really,
global
quality is
box
not part of this
office-
conversation at all. You know?
Right, it's not. It's just the awareness, the marketing, and the access to.
Yeah.
And I think it's really crazy to say that Iron Man 2 grossed 300 domestically, 600 international, and then the next one, it improved upon that by 33%. You know, it's crazy that that's where the paradigm is shifting, is that global box office. Even a movie like World War Z, you know, which was a lot of people were thinking that movie was going to possibly bomb when it came out because of production troubles, word of mouth, when it wasn't that great. But came out, I was a fan of that movie. It's actually done really well domestically and even internationally. It's like made back and then some, a budget that went way north of reportedly $200 million. But again, like, I think these studios, for the type of film that they can market it internationally, that isn't truly a Western type of movie, they don't worry about it as much, I think, about it not doing as well if it underperforms here, because there's that second level of distribution, and sometimes it comes even out before, like you said, but there's always that little nut that they're hanging on to that it possibly there's a bank there. I mean, like I think they expect it with a certain kind of movie, and most of it's like these tentpole releases, but like I was reading about like the Lone Ranger.
Yeah. Right now, Gore Verbinski and
Yeah.
Johnny Depp and Armie Hammer are having to go publicize and do kind of promotional work in other markets, and it's really weird. The stink on that movie is so overpowering that they're having to spend some of their time sort of explaining why it did so poorly here.
And I mean, and they're thinking they're not expecting those returns for this film internationally, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Because it's such a Western idea. Like, it's a Western, you know?
That's gotta suck if you're an actor having to do that, because I feel like when a movie's about to come out, as an actor, you get to act like it doesn't matter if it's good or not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, have you ever heard that? Like, an actor you like, you always wonder if they know if the movies that they're in are no good. They don't have to own up to it. They go on a couple talk shows, they do a couple things. It's sort of like they're off shooting their next movie when people are actually talking about how the movie was. Yeah. But to then have to, after everyone's been just, drubbing it soundly here, to be like, well, now we're going to go to all these other markets. You can't pretend.
I blame Johnny Depp playing a Native American.
You can't pretend that everything's okay. I still haven't seen it. I don't know that I will. I've heard. What's funny is I've heard some people that I was expecting to sort of come out saying, not bad, that have just said it sucked. So it's like Lone Ranger seems to be a movie that everyone could kind of recognize.
Universally
the
hate
stinkitude of it. It's really not Ronnie Depp's best work.
Ronnie Depp.
Not good.
Yeah.
Ronnie Depp.
Not good.
I think any person with the name Armie Hammer has a fucking dickhead.
Well, I think he sounds like a made-up person.
It does.
All I think is Arm & Hammer.
I know. It's
Yeah.
just, but thinking of baking
I
soda.
think that's why he did it.
Well, it always confused me because Arm & Hammer is the baking soda, and then Arm & Hammer, like the name Arm & Hammer, was like an art collector.
Yeah.
That had this big collection that toured around when I was a kid, and that confused the shit out of me. Like, what is this? What does this Rembrandt have to do with baking soda? I don't get it.
Right.
Well, guys, that was a pretty good survey of some interesting topics. I think we covered a lot of ground. Anybody have anything else?
No.
I got nothing.
Me neither.
I got a little bit of self promotion.
Okay.
The band I'm in, Rosemary Stretch, we just finished an EP last week. So if you go to rosemarystretch.bandcamp.com, look for Proof of Concept, the new EP we just put out last week.
Congratulations.
It's a $3 donation. Or you can pay as much as you want. It's the Bandcamp
nice.
model.
Okay.
And obviously, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bandcamp, but you can stream the music from there. So you can hear the whole EP before purching. But anybody
Can't
out
wait
there,
to listen.
Yeah. I expect 2 or 3 downloads to be generated by this bit of self-promotion.
Well, the 2 are here, I know. So you should
Yeah.
you should expect like 4 to 5. Shoot a little higher, John.
Yeah, rosemarystretch.bandcamp.com, and that's Rosemary Stretch, like the flower, the name, and the verb.
Cool. Yeah. Congratulations, sir.
Well, thank you.
That's amazing. Just putting it out into the world, see what happens.
So I think that's it. I think that's a pretty good wrap up.
Yeah.
I think so.
Nice little promotion.
We
at the end
wrapped
for
the
John.
shit out of that package.
Yeah, we double bagged it.
We spoke quite a bit.
Yes, we did.
So we haven't said this in a while, but we do have a website.
Oh, there's a movie Schmovie
yeah,
website.
movieschmovie.net.
That
You can stream the podcast from there.
Surely it's frequently updated with all new content.
So, I mean, at least the podcasts are
There's
on
some
there.
podcasts,
You can
yeah.
rely on that at least, as
With
long as Ronald posts
wonderful-
it.
Wonderful pictures to accompany them.
Yeah, and we also have the Facebook.com/movie schmovie, which is probably more active than movieschmovie.net.
Yeah, we do occasionally post things on there. I would
Yeah.
also say if you're listening to this and the way you listen to Movie Schmovie is you go to movieschmovie.net and listen to it from there. We would really love it if you subscribe to us through iTunes.
We're on
instead.
iTunes, silly.
Actually kind of helps us out. It helps you out. And I just realized that if everyone who does go to the site to listen to the podcast does then subscribe through iTunes, then there'll be no reason for anyone to ever go to the
We
site.
should just shut the site down.
So I don't know what we should
I think
do
we just
here.
had a revelation.
Guys, we need to figure out what to do with our site.
You want to email us at movieschmovie@gmail.com. We are selling the domain name to the highest bidder. But yeah, that's good times, guys. Good to see you all.
Yeah.
And we'll be back shortly. But thank you guys for listening. And as always, you've made our day. Take care.
I just want you guys to know I think you are real human beings and real heroes.
Can you cue the music?
Yeah.
Can you cue the music? Thank
I will
you.
cue it.
Boom, 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 boom.
Have